Hello, my name is Yong-Kyun Kim, working for the Ministry of Interior and Safety of Korea. 20 years ago, I embarked on a personal and professional journey to find the answer to a fundamental question: how can a nation be resilient to disaster? To answer this question for you, I will connect four fundamental parts into whole: the concept of disaster, the evolution of disaster risk management, disaster policies of Korea, and a resilient future. I hope by the end of this lecture, you will have a better understanding of not only what is disaster risk management, but also what should be done for a disaster resilient future. This lecture is composed of 5 sections. The first part is designed to help you develop a conceptual framework of disaster risk management through understanding the concept of disaster, disaster categorization, and leading disaster theories. This part also describes the evolutionary trajectory of disaster risk management. The second one will address the statistical characteristics of Korean disasters and identify focusing events that trigger the policy change. The third part will explain sound disaster policies of Korea through 4 phases of disaster management: mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. The first part is science and technology for disaster risk management. And finally, in the last part, I will propose 10 principles for disaster resilient nation. It targets policy improvement for Korea. However, the 10 principles can also be applied to other countries once it is tailored to their social, economic, and cultural environment. There has been ongoing debate on defining and conceptualizing a term for human-caused and naturally occurring calamities. A commonly used English word is disaster. The concept of disaster has been understood and defined in various ways depending on the era and the purpose of users, such as national government, UN agencies, and scholars. So, what is the etymology of disaster? The commonly used English word disaster originates from the Latin words dis astrum, meaning ominous star. Disaster, as reflected in its origin, had been historically used to refer a massive and sudden calamity due to the unfavorable position of a planet or star, implying impossible to control because it was caused by God's will. In other words, disaster had been mostly considered as a naturally occurring event resulting from natural hazards such as typhoons and earthquakes. Currently, it has matured to include disasters triggered by technological and social hazards, reflecting the evolutionary circumstances of contemporary society. In Korean, the word disaster is translated as 재난 or 재해. To conceptualize disaster more clearly, I will examine the terms related to disaster, which are safety, security, risk, and crisis. First, the English word safe originates from the old French word sauf, meaning free from danger, which is derived from the Latin word solvus, meaning in good health. Its accepted definition is not being dangerous or harmful. Since the 19th century, it has been commonly used to sort out industrial accident. The word safety is translated in Korean as 안전. 안전 is composed of 2 characters, 안 meaning a comfortable state, and 전 meaning a whole and entire state. Second, the term security originates from a combination of the Latin word se, meaning without, and cura, meaning concern or care. Therefore, it originally indicates no anxiety. Its accepted definition is the state of being protected or safe from harm. In Korean, the term security in the UN Charter of 1947 was translated as 안보. Third, the term risk originates from a Spanish nautical word meaning penetrating into the reefs. As the term risk became widely used, its meaning expanded to mean a hardship that must be endured to obtain wealth. In modern times, researchers and government officials have developed diverse definitions about risk to reflect the nature of its variety. The United Nations Development Program defines risk as the probability of harmful consequences or expected loss resulting from interactions between natural or human-induced hazard and vulnerable conditions. In the National Infrastructure Protection Plan, Department of Homeland Security considered risk elements as threat to nature and magnitude, vulnerability to a threat, and consequence that could result. Haddow in 2014 noted that risk is composed of three elements. First one, the probability and frequency of a hazard occurring. Second, the level of exposure of people and property to the hazard. And three, the effect or cost, both direct and indirect, of this exposure. Finally, the origin of the word crisis comes from the Greek word krinein, meaning separate, and it is used as the medical term of a turning point of life and death. Quarantelli in 1998 viewed that a crisis of a certain organization appears in the three following interrelated conditions: a type of threat including organizational value, sudden occurrence of an unexpected event, and a need to respond collectively as the outcome may seem more negative otherwise. The acceptable definition of the term crisis is a difficult or dangerous situation that needs serious attention. The Korean word for risk is 위기, 위 meaning danger and 기 meaning opportunity. In Korea, the Framework Act on the Management of Disasters and Safety defines disaster as what causes or is likely to cause any harm to the lives, bodies, and property of citizens and the state. When it was enacted in 2004, the Act categorized the disaster into three types: disasters triggered by natural hazard, human-caused disasters, and social disasters caused by the paralyzation of the state critical systems. In 2013, the revised version of the Act combined human-caused disasters and social disasters into one word, social disaster. The currently used definition of disaster in Korea is any of the following which actually causes or is likely to cause any harm to the lives, physical safety, and property of citizens and the state, with the two categorization, natural disaster and social disaster. The first appearance of the definition of disaster in Korean law was in the 1967 Countermeasure Against Typhoons and Floods Act, where the Korean word for disaster, 재해, was defined as damage caused by a flood, downpour, heavy snowfall, storm, or tidal wave and other natural phenomena, which means disaster triggered by climatological, hydrological, and meteorological hazards. With regard to human-caused disasters, the Disaster Control Act, enacted on July 18, 1995, in the wake of the Sampung Department store collapse, defined the Korean word 재난 as accidents that may cause any harm to the lives and property of citizens and the state, such as fire, collapse, explosion, traffic accidents, chemical, biological, and radioactive accidents, and environmental pollution incidents, excluding natural disasters. In this act, disaster was interpreted to be the Korean word 재난, meaning disaster triggered by technological hazard or man-made hazard. Therefore, this act brought about a confusion of the concept of disaster in Korea until it was abolished in 2004, labeling the single English word disaster with the two different terms, 재해 and 재난. Moving to how other nations perceive and define disaster. First, the United States of America distinguished major disaster from emergency in the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act. In the Stafford Act, emergency means any occasion or instance for which, in the determination of the President, federal assistance is needed to supplement state and local efforts and capabilities to save lives and to protect property, public health and safety, or to lessen the threat of a catastrophe in any part of the United States. In contrast, major disaster mean any natural catastrophe or, regardless of cause, any fire, flood, or explosion in any part of the USA, which in the determination of the President causes damage of sufficient severity and magnitude to warrant major disaster assistance under the Act. The purpose of the Major Disaster Declaration is to supplement the efforts and available resources of state and local governments and disaster relief organizations in alleviating the damage, loss, hardship, or suffering. In Japan, disaster is defined as damage caused by typhoon, downpour, heavy snowfall, flood, tidal wave, earthquake, tsunami, volcanic eruption, other abnormal natural phenomena, or massive fire, explosion, and other causes in the Basic Disaster Countermeasure Act. All three countries have commonly referred to disaster as what is triggered by natural, technological, or social hazard. The United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction perceives disaster as a serious disruption of the functioning of a community or a society involving widespread human, material, economic, or environmental losses and impacts. In general, when disaster occurs, the impact exceeds the ability of the affected community or society to cope using its own resources. No matter which way disaster is perceived, they are essentially the same. In particular, I want to emphasize that disaster is not just a technical issue, but should be understood as a social, economic, and environmental issue. Also, how each person or organization perceive and react to the risk is getting more important in disaster risk management.